consciousness.
Yeah. So in the context of remote viewing, um,
So
yeah,
okay, I'll
you
trust.
pick up all kinds of different stuff, and those initial impressions are important, and the whole process is really just it's like a puzzle that you're trying to put together. You know, your initial ideogram is like a zip file of the target that you've downloaded, and the whole remote viewing
That's a
session
good.
is like just pulling files out of that zip and piecing them
That's a
together
good.
into a cohesive image.
That's a good visualization, by the way. You should,
Thanks.
if you ever need to visualize, use that because that was really good.
I think I use
Because
that
it's
one
a
in my
zip
course.
file, and then you're pulling what you need out of it
Yeah,
as you
yeah.
go. It's a
And
very
you
so
do that by just letting those impressions come to you, and by cueing yourself. It's all it's and this goes for all forms of magic. It's attention plus intention. It's like what you focus on and what your intention is with what you're focusing on. So if you're focusing within and you're focusing on, all right, I want my subconscious to go to the target and get target information. I want my subconscious to move 50 feet above the target and look down. I want my subconscious to tell me what I smell at this target. So you cue yourself with these little triggers, and that's how you end up getting good data. That's kind of what separates the good remote viewers from the not as good remote viewers, is the people who really know how to cue their stuff and get their subconscious, um, you know, to dance around the target and find all the different bits and pieces. So
okay, so the let's call this the government. We'll call it the government process.
sure.
So you just kind of went through the government process, right? Um, Now, how does that differ from what you guys are doing or with what your friends invented with Cowboy?
Yeah.
How is it different than the not like the SRI program, the Monroe stuff?
Yeah, so it's the difference is there's no prescribed structure. It's just freestyle psychic connection, which is, you know, what a lot of psychics do. Like, and I see psychics as very similar to musicians in the sense that every psychic, every remote viewer has their own kind of style, just like every bass player or guitar player or whatever, right? Or singer. You know, you've got your own artistic style, you've got your own preferences, you know what works for you. You know, maybe you prefer jazz versus hip hop or something like that, right?
Mhm.
Psychic stuff is very similar. Like the corollaries between music and psychic ability are like, I just did a whole show on that the other day with somebody, so I could talk about that for way too long. But yeah, the gist of Cowboy is like it's you just kind of connect to the target and you let those impressions come through and you trust them. The thing is, to do a Cowboy session, you're not going to do very well if you haven't done the structured remote viewing a bunch, because the structure exists for a reason. They developed that structure because it works, and they used it for many years because it works, and it's incredibly useful for training your intuition. um, I consider remote viewing to almost be like a gym for intuition. You follow that structure and you work on your ability to parse this data from, you know, what's just crap that I'm projecting onto the target from my own inner stuff, and what's the actual target. Like, because it's all interpreted by your subconscious mind. It's
Right.
you know it's and again, this goes back to that idea that, you know, each psychic is you know, has their own style like a musician, because we all know different stuff, we've all learned different things, we've all had different experiences in life, and when you are pulling in this psychic information, it's you're filtering it through your own lens, and the stuff that you're going to jot down is going to be unique to you. So if you've got three remote viewers running the same target, they're all going to interpret it differently. And there's some weird stuff that happens with groups actually, where often when you have a group of, say, three people doing a single target, each of those three people is going to get like three different elements, and then when you put them together, that's when you get the whole picture. So there's some weird stuff that
Mm.
happens when you work with other people too, but it's kind of more effective that way.
That was
In
actually
some
gonna be
ways.
one of my questions is can a group of remote viewers work together? And
100%.
let's say, let's say I, let, I want to use your example earlier of Mars. What did you see? Eventually, I want to get there, but start. Can remote viewers work together?
Yeah, totally. There's lots of groups that work together on targets. There's one really cool one called the Future Forecasting Group. I just did a show with them a couple days ago. They're world class. Like they do like news predictions and crypto and all
No
kinds of stuff like that.
freaking way.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Like they nail it. Like they get a lot of correct results, a lot of hits. But I mean, even back in the Stargate program, like they had a team of remote viewers, and the team would work on,
That's
like, I mean,
true.
sometimes you do solo targets, but I think they work together a lot too. Certainly on operational targets, as they're called. Um, and I mean, I mostly do solo stuff just because I don't know a
There's
lot of remote viewers. I know a lot of them online, but
there was a lot of speculation, and I'm just gonna throw this story in here.
sure.
There was a lot of speculation that they use remote viewing to find Osama bin Laden.
Hmm. I
A
mean, you
lot.
could do that. I don't see.
A
There's no reason you
lot.
couldn't do that.
Yeah. A lot of speculation about it,
Yeah.
that it was done um as like a last ditch effort.
Mm.
Almost. But I don't want to talk about that. You talked about how you remote viewed Mars,
Yeah.
and you had a similar target to what Joe McMoneagle did. Can you explain that whole thing? Because
Yeah.
I'm super fascinated with Mars.
He did a session back in the 80s or something where he remote viewed Mars and got these beings and this civilization. It was like, I think it was the Cydonia region of Mars specifically,
Cydonia, exactly. Yeah.
and there's pyramids and stuff, and I got kind of all the same stuff, and again,
What did it look like? Did it look?
I
Because a
I
lot of
wrote.
people say it's not red.
Well, the impression that I got and wrote down was Sedona, Arizona, which rhymes with Cydonia,
Oh,
and it
that's so
was,
fucking
and there's the
crazy.
redness, and I did get, like, not like red, but like kind of again, like Arizona desert kind of
Yeah, but that's more like a
feeling and visual.
tan.
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't like pure red. I don't know if I have the session handy. I probably don't, but it's just, again, this is from memory, but
I
I
really
did
want
get
to
a I did
know.
get a being. I did see this. It almost looked like a gray, but it
Oh,
was more
fucking
white skinned, and the eyes weren't like the black eyes. It was like more human like eyes, and I kind of got the feeling that it was kind of aware that I was looking at it. Not in like a spooky weird way or anything, just kind of like, oh hey, what's going on? And like, check this out, because there was something going on at the site that was like,
oh no.
again, I didn't have a great breakthrough on this, but there was this feeling of like watching this like once in a lifetime occurrence or something. And there was like a big light over top of a pyramid, which I drew. And again,
Creepy
like,
as
I had
shit.
no idea what I was actually looking at this time. I thought I was still like in Arizona somewhere, or not. I didn't think I was there, but that was the feel. Like, it wasn't, to me. I wasn't like, oh, I'm in space. I'm on Mars right now. Like, it didn't feel anything completely out of the ordinary, other than the fact that it was like this feeling of like, wow, this is really unique. This place that I'm at is unique, and not something that I'm going to be able to recreate, elsewhere or otherwise. With, I can't go to Mars a million years ago physically, so maybe that's all it was. But yeah, it was an interesting target, and yeah, the pyramid stuff came through pretty clearly. I did get like the feeling that, like, no, these aren't like the Egyptian pyramids. It wasn't the Great Pyramid, anything like that. I was pretty. I knew it was some kind of different pyramid, but I guess I just didn't have the vocabulary or the knowledge to break through on that one and be like, oh yeah, it's Mars. Because I didn't even realize I was doing like a woo woo outer space target. It was just something I pulled out of my blind target pool that had set up for myself. And I do have some weird ones in there because I like checking that kind of stuff out because it's interesting. But yeah, I had a much better session on the Tic Tac than I did on Mars.
Yeah, so let's.
Nailed the Tic Tac.
The one to wrap up on was your session with the Tic Tac, because not only is it so spot on, but I have a close relationship with Kevin Day, PJ Hughes, and a couple other guys from the Nimitz. All right, I don't have it handy. I'm going to do it in editing.
Yeah, sure. Actually,
So start. So why was the Nimitz part of this blind pool you set up for yourself?
yeah. So I have a few kind of classic cases in there. Not all of them have come up yet. And
Phoenix Lights, stuff like that. Yeah.
I've done the Phoenix Lights too. That was another interesting one that I was tasked on. I was tasked on that one probably too early in my remote viewing career. And this is something for anybody who's interested in getting into this. If you are interested in remote viewing and interested in remote viewing weird stuff, get some practice before you do UFO woo-woo stuff, or you're going to get some jump scares and maybe some hitchhiker stuff going on. Energetic protection is important when you're doing this kind of stuff, when you're doing targets that are potentially unsafe in the sense that it's like you don't know what it is, or it could be weird stuff, or it could be scary stuff.
Stuff that knows that you're there.
Yeah. I'm good with it. Like I grew up in a house on a street that was haunted as hell, and like I had ghosts jumping out at me in the middle of the night when I was a kid all the time. My brother did too. We slept in the basement, and our street was had a church on it, which in Canada means it was stolen indigenous land. And there's probably some restless spirits under the ground there where we were sleeping that wanted to mess with us or were mad or whatever. But I've had lots of stuff like that in my history, and so I was open to that kind of stuff, and it didn't really freak me out that much. But if you're coming in fresh to this, like, do basic targets, like photo targets, like predict the news for your local paper, stuff like that. Like that is kind of repeatable.
So don't jump into Phoenix Lights.
No, don't dive into the woo right away.
Okay. Lesson. All right. I like that.
It's like, so the analogy I would use is like, you're not going to try and bench press 300 pounds your first day in the gym, right?
Gotcha.
Like you're gonna work your way up to that kind of
great
stuff.
Visualization again.
Yeah.
Great visualization.
Yeah. So with the Tic Tac, I got all kinds of fun stuff.